We are here today. We're going to be talking about creating a professional image online. I am Dominique. I'm Dr. World 2026. I am an Army officer. I'm also an attorney and a mother. I have been in the Dr. World system for the last 3 years, and I finally have the title Dr. World 2026. My platform is female veterans, and I focus on homelessness and sexual trauma. And I'm joined here by my sister Queen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bree Offord. I am the current reigning Miss Achievement World 2026. I reign from the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. I am currently a teacher and a public relations representative. I actually teach journalism, so I am in my classroom today. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys. My platform is empowering youth through civic engagement and empowerment, making sure that our youth find a voice to be the change that they want to see. And I am super excited. I've been a part of the Dr. World Productions family. This is my second year. I was Miss Achievement Texas 2025, and I am the current reigning Miss Achievement World. And I'm super excited to be a part of this space, seeing that I'm fairly a newbie to the pageantry world.
Thank you. And joining us today is a very special guest. We have Maria. Maria is the CEO and head coach of the Pageant Gal Incorporated. It's an elite pageant and business coaching company dedicated to helping women win their dream crowns, elevate their confidence, and build influence both on and off the stage. Over a 10-year pageantry career, Maria has she captured 6 titles, including Miss Canada 2018, and has become a sought after mentor for women pursuing excellence in competition and in life. And I completely agree with that. She is also a global coach and speaker. Maria helps women build personal brands, create impactful online businesses, and step into leadership and purpose with confidence. Her influence has reached a worldwide audience, growing a social media community of over 10,000 followers. Oh, excuse me, 100,000 followers. And she continues to empower women to become the queen of their lives, reigning with leadership, impact, and success. And Maria, one of the things that stood out to me about your bio was you were talking about purpose. And our conference that is coming up is Blooming into Your Purpose. And so I am so grateful that you are here and you're going to give us the tidbits of information that you have. So, welcome. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction, and I'm looking forward to chatting with both of you ladies and getting to share my wisdom with the group that you have.
Thank you. And so we are just going to jump right into asking you questions, and just feel free to answer however you want. And this is going to be a fun little communication. So, my first question for you is, how did you decide which patent system aligned best with your values and long-term goals?
For sure. So I'm actually from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. So I'm right across the border from Detroit. And over here, we
Mm.
don't have a ton of pageants. Like that is not a very big thing. And even 10 years ago when I started pageants, competitions weren't as big as they are. Like there wasn't virtual systems like there are now. Social media was really just like starting to become a bigger thing. And so when I was 21 and I decided I wanted to do a pageant, the real space that I got to join was locally, and our local systems here really focus on strong interview presentation and having a platform in the community that you would either advocate for or raise money for. And I when I joined, I became very successful right away. My first competition, I was top 3. My second competition, I won. And I've always known that every other system I wanted to do, I wanted it to align closely with those things, like systems that really valued women who could speak and articulate themselves and who wanted to have a platform or impact as part of the competition and part of their reign. So that's always what I've stuck with and tried to find systems that work best with me. I've done a few other systems outside of tried and true, you know, pageant platform style of systems, but I've always just found that I'm not as successful in them. And that's where I think aligning a system with what you naturally are good at and value
Mhm.
is the best thing that someone could do for success.
Yes, I completely agree. And, I have to do the plug for Dr. World Productions. The motto is smart is beautiful. And just growing up, I just love reading and education was such an important foundation for me. And so once I found this pageant system, I'm like, oh my gosh, we not only value, the outside, but we value what's inside.
Mhm.
Education, is a big part of this. Bree, I'll let you go next.
I mean, everything that you just said is totally spot on. When I joined the system and I thought about, I never really felt like I was a pretty girl, but I knew that I was smart. Um, and being wise and being smart was attractive to other people. So when I found this system, I was like, oh, I can actually plug myself in a different light and way. And I just so happen to be a little cute. So that actually worked. Um, my next question for you, Maria, is what should contestants look for beyond the crown when selecting a pageant? So as we have different audiences that we're trying to plug to, what should they be looking for in us?
First of all, I want to say that I think you are gorgeous, 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 more
Thank
than
you.
cute. And what I think a delegate should look for beyond the stage is you really have to reflect on and think about what opportunities do you want to walk away with, win or lose. And that's going to be a huge thing because I've always looked at pageants as a launch pad for success in your
Mhm.
real world influence and impact. So if you're not using pageants in order to further your growth or to further career opportunities or community opportunities, you're missing out on such big potential when it comes to really just maximizing the success and influence that you can make. So it requires you to sit down with yourself and reflect on crown or no crown, and 5 years from now, what do I want this experience to lead to? Right? For a lot of my clients, that looks like speaking on stages, running their own movements. My clients have started their own 501(c)(3s. Some of them have gone on to do businesses now. So it's really looking at what do you want to attain in your near future in the next 1 to 2 years, and making sure that that is very clear. So that way the pageant is not the be all end all. Instead, it
Mhm.
becomes like this stepping stone to the greatness that you're already going to do anyways. And it just is able to build that momentum because pageants do build a lot of momentum for women, right? There's a lot of visibility, there's a lot of connection and networks and opportunities, but you want to make sure that you know how to leverage the influence and momentum in pageantry to propel you outside of it.
I love that. It's almost like you're telling contestants to really think more that you're more than your crown
Mm-hmm.
and carrying that message of being more than your crown. I know that for me personally, in my pageant journey, this summer is going to be a busy summer
Mm-hmm.
because we're navigating those spaces of the speaking engagements. I think I'm booked for four
Ooh.
at this
Mhm.
point, and really growing that platform because of the crown and what I stand for and what my actual platform is. So I love that you brought up that point.
I agree. I agree completely. Just in the last couple of years, I'm quite sure that I could have done these things like on my own, but when people
Hmm.
the sash and the crown, they're automatically drawn to you, or just
Yeah.
public, they ask you questions like, oh, what is that? And you start telling them. And I've gotten so many opportunities, speaking engagements, and just being invited into spaces that I never would have even thought about or considered doing. But oh, I have this sash and crown, and now they're giving that. And so I do think that's an amazing tip for us to not only focus on like the now, but think about the future and what this can do for you in the future, how that ties into, your goals in life. So I really love that. So my next question is, did you ever choose a system that wasn't a right fit, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yes, great segue from my last answer. And I will say there's always something great to learn. And there's never, I don't want to ever want someone to listen and be like, okay, I shouldn't do those types of systems, right? Because every single chance that you take, there's opportunity and growth that you can have. So I would not go back and change any of this, but I find that you can't see based on where I'm sitting, but I'm 5'2". I'm very petite. I'm very small. And I've competed in the Grand Slam systems in Canada before. I've done Miss World Canada, which couples with like the Earth, the Grand, the Intercontinental. I've done Miss Universe Canada. And fair to say those crowns are not on my shelf right now, and it's not that I don't think that I'm a fit. I do think that I could win anything. Like that's just what I believe about myself and what I would want any woman to believe for herself. But I also understand that each pageant has its own brand, has its own individuality and look and type of title holder that they're looking for. And those are just the systems that I find that I don't compete very well in and place very well in, but I love who I become when I do compete in them. And I love
Mm.
how much hunger it brings out in me to be like, okay, Maria, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. What's that going to look like? Like, how much do you really think you can do this? All right, like let's put the pedal to the metal so that way it's not just, oh, it's an easy loss. It's like you know that you really gave it your all. And I find that my discipline really strengthened through being in those competitions, not just like the actions, but my mindset. Like I really had to make sure that every step of the way, I wasn't telling myself, oh, you're not good enough, you're not tall enough, you're not pretty enough, you don't look like the typical fit. No, I was like, if I'm going to compete in these systems, I'm going to compete and I'm going to show up and I'm going to give it my all and at least know that I left everything on the stage and in that competition.
Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
And, you know, that kind of ties in. So we have an online system. And so it's a lot different than being in person. You're thinking about, oh, I'm going to train for this, I'm going to train for that. But you do have to have the right mindset because some people think that this is just an online pageant system,
Hmm.
show up to Zoom, but it is very similar. Guess what? I took walking courses. It was all virtual. My coach was in London and we're recording videos and I'm doing that same thing. So, and it, when I competed for Dr. America, I think that was the time that aligns with what we're speaking about. Like I gave it my all. I spent hours with coaching. I spoke to two different coaches just to get different perspectives and different techniques and things like that, and definitely pushed myself. And I love that you said that, Bree.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really huge to sit back and say that the pageant system that I was a part of before I came to Dr. World, I actually got to compete on stage. So my very first pageant was a traditional pageant. I competed as for Miss National Educator of America. And that was really me getting up out of my shell. I took coaching and I was a late entry. So I had less than a month to actually prepare for that particular pageant. And the push and the drive that it does for you is definitely different. So when you approach a system like a virtual system, you have a different mindset of push, go, and that presentation looks so different. Um, and to your point, Maria, you found out that okay, this might not be a great fit, but there's so many great nuggets that you learn from the experience that you take to any other pageant system that you go to. So I would never trade that first pageant system experience for anything in the world because it made me better and more ready for what to expect for the current system that I'm in. So that's a great, great takeaway. So I have a great question for you here. So, how important is alignment? We're talking a little bit about purpose and alignment here. So, how important is alignment between your personal mission and also the pageants platform? How do
I
those
think it's
connect for you?
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about like branding and the professional and the
Hmm.
online side of things, but I think if things don't connect and click for you, it's going to be really hard for you to communicate that to other people, whether that's your community, whether that's a sponsor, or whether that's a judge. And you will feel when something doesn't feel like a fit. And a fit and alignment can mean that the your own personal mission and the pageant that you're competing for don't align. It could be like there's things going on in your life that maybe this just isn't your time, but you're trying to force your way through. A lot has to happen for you to win a pageant. And a lot has to happen for you to really show up at your best, stand out and have the best performance amidst, sometimes 10, 20, 30, 100 other women who also want it. And I don't think alignment is something that you have to strive for on the outside or like look for perfection or validation, but it is something to do. I'm a really big promoter of like self reflection and self awareness. And that's what you have to do at every single phase, whether it's you're preparing, you're deciding where to compete, you're in the competition mode, is really reflecting on why does this click for you, whether that's like your personal mission and the pageant platform, why is this the right time for you, and knowing that if it's not, it doesn't mean it was out of alignment, but it just
Mm.
means that there's different things that your life is meant to do. But looking back at my journey, 10 years of pageants, 11 systems I've competed in, everything has always happened for me, and I'm always going to walk out a winner, right? I can lose a pageant, but I'm always walking out a winner. And that's the bigger picture because there's a lot of people who can win a pageant because it aligns and everything works out well, but they don't feel like a winner and they didn't know what to do with it. And there's pressure and there's, circumstances that they don't actually enjoy it. So alignment isn't just the system aligns with my values. It's also like, are you feeling connected to who you're being, your purpose, what you're here to do every single day, whether or not the crown is on?
Wow, that statement you said, you spoke a gospel word with that, because I thought about my last experience in my previous pageant system, and it was exactly that. I won my reign, but I couldn't find myself in my reign because the alignment wasn't there. So that's very reassuring to sit back and have that self-reflection moment to actually see that and understand that it wasn't that it was wrong, but the alignment has to be there in that space so you can be the best queen that you need to be at all times. So thank you so much for that nugget.
Mhm.
I like you said, alignment is about connection,
Hmm.
how you always walk away feeling like that you're a winner, whether you actually win the title or not. So that is a great transition into our next topic, which is your brand. So my first question for you, being that you have over 100,000 followers, so you definitely know what your brand is. How would you define your personal brand in 3 words?
This is great. So this is across all my social media. So I know hopefully we have some gals who have been on the Instagram or the TikTok, but a few ways that I would describe it. And I had these questions before and I was like, I need to think about them. But I would definitely say that I am very bold. I'm very upfront and direct. I kind of put those under one. And also I want to use the word expansive because when you come to my page, I always say I do things so differently than every other pageant coach. Like my business doesn't look like any other pageant coach. When I started coaching, I just had a very different mindset and approach to the space. And because of that, I wanted my social media to look different and I wanted my brand to be different than that. And so when you come into a pageant gal program or you come into the pageant gal TikTok or Instagram, you don't see a lot of my clients. A lot of people don't know who I'm working with, right? Versus, I think most people you would know who they're working with because they share all their clients. My page and the way I communicate is about you, like speaking to each of you, speaking to the woman on the other side of the screen and giving you like the I see you. I know what you're going through. I've done this competition thing over and over again. I've worked with hundreds of women and I really focus on giving you the truest like experience. Like someone could just look at all of my content online and be able to win a pageant because they understand themselves and the process so much more. And that comes through not just giving, surface level tips and tricks, but really speaking to the mindset about competing, really like talking through the challenges I know these women are going through and giving what I call like the no BS approach and of what I've been able to do as someone who is kind of the underdog in pageants, right? I come from Canada. I'm 5'2". I started, I guess, kind of late in the game. I was 21, where some girls compete from when they're little. I had every reason to not win as many pageants as I've had. I have every reason not to be a full-time coach right now, but it's because of my boldness, my directness, and my expansion of myself that those are the things that I built my own pageant brand onto.
I love that. And I love that your first one was bold. But I
Hmm.
would say from outside looking in, one, I didn't notice about you not sharing your clients until you said that. But the minute you
Mhm.
said, I was like, you are right. I have never seen that. And I've been following you for a while. But I will also say, just as a person who follows you, you are like a best friend. Like you sit there and you talk to us, and I'd be like, yeah, girl, she's talking to me.
Hmm.
Only one watching your videos and you're talking to me directly. So I love that. Okay, Bree.
And I think that's a great segue to a question that's been burning with me, because you are just so warm and authentic, and it shines through in your platforms. It's shining through right now. So, for you, what do you think is the difference between being authentic and just being just strategic online? Because a lot of times we don't know which is the face. So, for you, what is that difference?
I think I have a really unique answer to this as I was thinking about it before we jumped on. And I don't focus on being authentic online. And
Mm,
the reason is because that's just who I am. I just know myself very well. I have a very strong relationship and connection to who Maria is. I do a ton of personal development work. I will continue to do a ton of personal development. I'm always in mentorship. I'm always investing in myself. I'm always thinking about my vision and what I'm working towards that who you're getting right now is who you get online. Like, I don't feel like I have to create this authentic image so that you know that this is me. I'm very real in every aspect. Who you see online talking to you at the camera versus who's going to do a training versus when I'm with my family. This is Maria. So I personally focus more on the strategy piece of it and getting to where I want to go. And I was talking with a client recently who just joined on to work with me, and she was saying, she's like, oh, well, I only want to be authentic online. I want people to know like I'm messy and I'm different. And I was like, that's great. Your social media looks like you don't care. It looks messy,
Mhm.
and it's because like you're trying to be authentic and therefore you're not being authentic,
Mm.
if that makes sense. And not
No,
to
that
not
makes
to
sense.
call anyone out, yeah, but it's like I don't have to try and be authentic. I just am me. And if we're ever trying to like prove who we are by being authentic and being like, "Oh, look, I don't care, like this is me and I'm natural," it's still coming from a place of insecurity, and insecurity is not your truest, most loving, most whole
Mm.
authentic self. So that is my approach to it. I think if you're trying to be authentic, you need to do more of that self-development work, because for me, I don't have to try to be authentic. This is just like who you see, who I am is what you get online, offline, behind the scenes.
I love that you said it out loud. And there's that. I don't even have anything else to add to that because I think that we over rotate. Even in the PR space, we try to over rotate because authenticity is one of those wonderful buzzwords. And it's either you are or you're not. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for just putting it out there and just putting a lot of us at ease because we think that we have to do all of these extra things just to be exactly who we are. So thank you for that so much.
Mhm.
I think that leads into the next question very well. And so I'm asking this from your perspective, but then also if you could tell other people how they can do this for themselves. So, how do you ensure that your brand stays consistent across appearances, social media, and interviews?
Mhm. So I think there's a really valuable opportunity that we're going to see a lot more in the pageant space of actually investing in what your brand is versus just kind of figuring it out as you go, which I think most women do, right? When you think about it, you sign up for a competition, you start posting online, you start doing interview. It's like you just kind of keep like failing until you figure it out. And for me, when it came to competing, I don't like to just figure things out and fail till I get there. I like to know that there is a way that I can set myself up for success and then follow that plan. And that's really what having your own brand identity is. And that's a huge thing that now I work with my clients on, both in the pageant space and business. So when you see Maria, the pageant gal online, and you see me either competing or doing trainings and workshops, and it feels and looks very consistent, that was not on accident. I didn't just show up and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, everything looks good. No, like I've worked with brand designers. I've actually
Mm.
done the investment piece to understand like what is my message? What is the look and visual perception of that message? What is the tone of that message? So it comes across very consistent and very clear in everything that I do. And, it didn't just start this way, right? When it comes to, if we think about the visuals and the colors in the closet, but you do have to plan it out. And if you see somebody online or in the pageant space and it looks very cohesive and you look and you're like, wow, that looks, in a way, our mind thinks it's attractive. It's like, oh, that looks very good, because when things look clear and polished and defined, it's attractive to our psyche. It's attractive to our mind. Just know that that's not on accident. You're not just supposed to know how to do your brand and how to create a cohesive image. Like for most people, it's going to require support. It's going to require somebody outside of you to help you reflect and determine what your brand is, because sometimes it's hard to see the full picture when you're in the frame. So I've done a lot of investment and work when it comes to learning what my brand is and then actually figuring out how to bring it to life. And that's what I would say for other people who are trying to think about doing this. I didn't just figure this out on my own. Like, as much as I want to say, I came from the nursing background. I used to be a registered nurse. I didn't know anything about branding or pageants or looks or online. Like, I had to learn from experts and invest to understand what that was and to create that image and that presence.
One thing that stood out, you said, it is hard to see the full picture when you're inside the frame. I think that goes with a lot in life. So that was
Mhm.
an amazing quote for you. I probably will be reposting that on social media.
Please do.
Okay, Bree's turn.
So, with understanding how you've had to shape your own brand and needing that additional support and help during your journey, Have you ever had to rebrand? And what do you think triggered your rebrand, if you've had to?
Yeah, I've had one rebrand. I wouldn't even call it a rebrand. It was more of just a brand evolution. And like I said, in the way I do pageant coaching, it's so different from every other coach. So immediately when I came into the coaching space, I had a friend who was local to my area say, Maria, I've seen you be successful over the years. I've been doing pageants longer than you. I haven't been winning. Can you help me? And I said, I have no idea, but I'm going to help you figure it out. And lo and behold, she ended up placing top five at her pageant. She ended up going on to win a national pageant. I loved it. But here was the bigger thing. Immediately, I remember thinking, she competed, she won, and then I didn't see her again. And I
Mm,
remember thinking, like, what a missed opportunity to continue helping someone with what they want to do after the pageant, right? And that's what most of us do, right? We hire coaches, we get support, we work, we set the vision, we practice, we get the crown or not. And then we're kind of done until the next time. And so ever since I started coaching, 7 years ago, I've always thought to myself, like, how can I support my clients after the crown? And the real thing that I was noticing, and hopefully you ladies haven't experienced it, but I get it's okay if you have, is kind of this like loss of self when you're a title holder, especially because you're so focused on getting to the title and then having it that there's no really plan or preparation for when you have the title or afterwards. And so, very long story short, coming back to this, my original brand was built on help women win the crown, be the queen so you can win the crown. And that was good for about a few years. That got me to building my business to be full time and leaving nursing. But I had a moment where I was like, I don't just want to be the coach who helps women win the crown. Like, that is great and that is amazing, but I want to help women be the queen of their life and do something beyond the crown and build a brand and business and influence that always makes you feel like a queen. So, what did I do? I did not just figure it out on my own. I could feel like my content wasn't landing. My message just didn't feel like I was landing. I didn't feel as lit up because I could tell the brand that I had built just, it was outdated. It needed to be evolved. It needed to be updated. And so I hired my brand designer, who is my website designer, who I've worked with many times. And we went through this process, through the drawing board, through the reflection, and started with, what's my vision moving forward? Who am I speaking to? And literally you could see visually that there was a change in my tone, there was a change in the look online, and there was a change in the way I was saying things because it was no longer the container of you're just here to win a pageant. It was you're here to win pageants, be a queen, and build influence beyond the stage. And there was a rebrand process to that when it comes to the look. And it's funny, my clients will message me, they'll be like, Maria, like the look of your content is different. Like, I noticed you changed the color and you did this. And it's because that's like how visual you can see that rebrand. So that was the time that I can think of. It's pretty much been that ever since.
I appreciate that. You said something pretty powerful that made me think about my own journey as far as kind of losing identity once you have the crown, because it's like, oh, what do I do next? Especially when you're a new pageant holder, you're like, I don't know what to do. And I've been so thankful for this system, because we've been a network of sisters that have believed in development and really helping to mentor each other where we're weak, where one is weak, another is strong. So we've been able to lean on each other and actually learn how to be queens comfortable in our own skin, to be able to be our own queen and look beyond just the title itself. So thank you for putting that out there.
And you're such a pro. All of your answers just go right into the next question. So
I don't even have the questions here. I'm just speaking. It must just be connecting.
amazing. So we're going to transition a little bit to
Mhm.
creating a professional image online. And
Mhm.
my first question to you is, what does a professional online presence mean to you in today's social media world?
Honestly, it means a lot. And I think it's something that pageantry in general is very behind on and very
Mm,
underestimating the power of it. But we have to realize that our online world is a massive part of our world. Social media and having social influence is just as important as it used to be. On a Friday night, you go to the mall or you go to like the local event happening. Now it's like at the end of every night, you check in on your social media. It is a part of who we are. And I think we can get mad and upset about that and, whatever people might think, or we can be realizing that this is going to be the way of our future. I think over 95% of the population has access to a phone or the internet in some way. And so it's important to build our image online. And it's so important in pageantry as women who want to be leaders and influential leaders is learning how to grab and get attention. Like that's what it's really about. If we want to make a bigger impact, we have to learn how to get and hold people's attention. Otherwise, you're going to be speaking to an audience of nobody. And if you're speaking to nobody, you're not a queen making an impact. You're just
Mm,
figuring it out as you go. And I know as pageant women, we want to make an impact. We know our story and our mission is here to have a legacy that impacts thousands, that impacts millions. But you won't make that impact if you don't get real and get serious about, okay, how do I look online? How am I showing up in the world? And that's a great mirror, I think, for, if we bring it to the pageant, to the interview room, you have to think about how am I showing up? How is this coming across? Am I really grabbing people's attention or am I just talking and posting and figuring out without actually thinking about the person on the other side of the table or the other side of the screen? So I think it's a really big opportunity of growth that we'll start to see more in the next decade for pageantry and pageant women.
I like that. And one of the things you said is thinking about the person on the other side of the camera. I know that during my reign, especially the last couple years, I consistently post, show my events, but I never really thought about talking to the person on the other side of the camera. So that is a really good piece of advice that I'm going to go forward with. And with
mhm,
having our online pageant system, some of the queens that I know, they may work really hard and they may do a lot of events, or they may have a job in which they can't share the details of their job. And they're like, well, I don't know what to post online because I can't share that I'm with a client. And I say, well, guess what? My entire job is I'm an attorney. I can't share anything that I do, but you can have a separate like platform and identity from your day-to-day job, and you have to be strategic about it. So if I'm going to the courthouse, I may take a picture right in front of the courthouse with my sash and crown and then make a caption about like, advocating for women or things like that. I don't have to like show that I'm sitting beside my client. And it's the same thing how you're proven that you're a successful coach that just by your online social media presence without even advertising your clients. So I do think that we can be more strategic. And I really appreciate that because I am definitely now going to think more about when I post, think about the other side and what that person is receiving. Not just,
Mhm.
hey, guess what? I did this event because that's what I thought. Hey, I'm gonna make sure that I post a lot so
mhm,
that I am a working queen because I really don't like when people just win and then you don't hear from them and you're like, well, what am
Mhm.
I doing? And they could be doing something, right? But it's just I don't see it. So it's not on social media. So it didn't happen. So I make sure that every, 2 or 3 days I'm posting something. But I never really thought about thinking about how that other person's going to receive that. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, what are some like the top three things that you can think of that someone should clean up on to improve their social media? Because I used to have the habit of, okay, let me post everything that I'm doing, and I wasn't seeing my media platforms really growing from that. So, what are some of the things that I need to stop doing, or what are some of those common things that are just like, yeah, I don't think you should do that, or to clean
Oh,
that up a
okay.
little bit.
Only two to three things. Okay, so the first thing, because I actually just did an Instagram roast with a ton of pageant women who submitted their profiles willingly. And these were a couple of the main things that came up. And it actually starts with, again, a theme that I've said a few times is when you got to think about like, what is your goal when someone comes to your page? Like, what action do you want them to take? And if you want them to follow you, why? And you actually have to think about what are you curating online aside from just a personal diary? Like, if you actually realize that on these devices, your world can change. You can have people find you. You can post one thing and then go viral the next day. You could have someone who finds you and then decides they want to sponsor you. You could start a business and have people paying you thousands of dollars where you make six figures and you don't have to work at your job. And if you actually realize how powerful the internet and social media and your influence would could be, and you got really honest about what you actually wanted to create, you need to think about that first, and then we can strategize it. Because I audited, I want to say there was over 20 women's pages. Most of them looked exactly the same, and most of them I would not follow because it's just a personal diary. And I'm like, well, I don't know you. That's great that you went to this coffee shop and you have this personal diary, but there's no reason why I should care in essence. So it's that, why should you care? And then when you reflect and figure that out, like what is your bigger goal that we've talked about? I want you to actually go on your page and imagine that you didn't know you.
Mm.
And how does it look? Like, what would you do? Would you scroll right off, or would you want to stay and be intrigued? And think about the person on that other side. A lot of pageant women want to get sponsors. And when you look at their page, there's nothing actually like guiding a sponsor with what to do or how to support them in any way. So look at your page as if you're not you and be really real with yourself and look at the content. Does it look like it's quality content in the sense at a bare minimum that the lighting is good, that the sizing is good? And this is where people will say, "Oh, the algorithm is changing so much." I'm like, it's really not changing that much that you can't figure it out and look at your picture and realize your head is cut off or realize that it is so dark I can't see you. You have like self-awareness is such a gift in pageantry. And if you cannot be self-aware enough with yourself to look at what you're sharing and how you're showing up in the eyes of other people, I can tell you that's probably showing up in your interview or that's probably showing up in your virtual submissions or in your on-stage competition. So first you got to know, what is your bigger goal and vision for your life? Two, go on your profile and actually like take a look. If you were a brand new person, what do you notice? What do you feel? What do you see? And then the third thing and the biggest thing, and yeah, we're going to go there, is how often are you actually posting enough to get better at it? If you look at my Instagram page today, it's April 10th, 2026, for the pageant gal, there are 2,800 posts since I started this page 7 or 8 years ago. So yes, I'm pretty good at my Instagram now. I'm pretty good at my posts. I have 2,800 posts of experience. That's like over one or two per day probably or something like that. If you're only posting 1 or 2 times a week, yeah, it's going to take you a lot longer to figure out the platform and to figure
Mhm.
out the skill. So yes, you want to think about your goal. You want to think about the person on the other side of the screen, but then also I think part of it is like build the reps and build the discipline and build the habit of learning how to show up consistently and get better at it.
I like that you said to build that skill of consistency because I think that a lot of times we get caught in the, if I'm not a social media person, I'm good with posting once a week, twice a week, once a month. And in order to not be afraid of social media, we have to grow that skill.
Hmm.
We just have to. We can't be afraid to sit back and grow that skill and continue to continuously post. So I love that you pointed that out, and also being mindful of what is your goal, and if I were to go to my own page, would I want to follow me? And
Hmm.
if the answer is no, then we have to rethink some of our life decisions to figure out, okay, what do we need to do better so I would want to follow me in the least bit. So that's really really huge. That's a great takeaway for me because I've worked on social media for so long for other people. I struggle with posting for myself. It's
Hmm.
like it almost pains me to do that. So that's a great reminder because I can't tell other people to do it and I'm not doing the same.
I have to agree with the second part of what Bree was talking about, figuring out and your main point, what is your goal? And I think if I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't really think I have a goal right now, right? Like, I know that I'm Dr. World and I know that I'm showing the events that I go to, but if I really think deep down inside, I don't know if I have an overall goal. Like, I'm just posting because I know that I'm supposed to, and I want, I guess maybe, of course, um, show my platform, but at the same time, I don't really think that I keep that in mind necessarily. So I really like that, and a lot of the things that you said here today, I'm sitting here like, I should be taking notes, but guess what? It's recorded, so I'm gonna go back and watch it and
Yeah,
take.
this is definitely going to be must see TV to actually really reflect because I know with my own post, I know that one, consistency has not been my strong point.
Yeah.
So there's check. And then there's also being mindful of what the goal is because I believe in digital storytelling. I believe in the
Hmm.
power and the gift of storytelling. And if I don't feel like I have a story to tell because I'm not mindful of the goal, then I don't post because I understand that that's what grabs a person, but this right here alone is story enough. Just trying to figure out how to tell it has been kind of my Achilles heel. So to sit back and see it in perspective in that way is really, really great. So yes, I'm definitely reflecting on, okay, what am I currently doing and how do I shift that fairly quickly? Even if it hurts a little bit, because a lot of this is getting out of that comfort zone to be able to do exactly that.
I have one more thing I want to say before the next question, just because I think this is really landing and resonating, and I know this will resonate with the delegates too. There's one quote I love. I think it's from Alice in Wonderland, and if if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there.
Mm,
So if and the thing is, when you're the title holder, that's really when the work starts. Like that's not when you're like, okay, the goals are done. I'm just gonna like reign and be a queen. And here's the thing for the delegates listening to this, you don't decide what you want to do with the title once you get the title. Like decide that beforehand. And if you're in the middle of your reign, now is the best time to think about that. Because here's the bigger picture is that you have to set your expectations for success. Otherwise, it's so easy to get to the end of the reign and look back and be like, what did I do? Like
mhm.
what actually did I do besides making posts? And then once you're done, you're like, okay, what do I do now? So much of life and honestly, so much of the coaching work that I do is helping my clients figure out their vision if there were no limits. If they actually got to do what I say, like put their chin up and put their crown on, what would you want for your life if you really knew that this world was magical and you were limitless and you were a queen and you got to wear a crown and
Mhm.
literally say, what I want to have happen is something I just have to decide right now. Then you move and show up differently. Then the resistance to posting online doesn't feel so strong because you're now directed at where you want to go and the path, the how actually becomes easier. So I wanted to say that too for both you and for everyone listening.
No, that was definitely a must hear for everybody. We saw we were giving you that
Yeah.
period because I mean, I mean, bottom line, that's really what it is. I think that that's an area of struggle on so many different levels with just building that confidence and that consistency. But it starts with knowing the vision and making it plain for yourself in order to get
Mhm.
there. So that's huge.
And I think too, for me and Bree, we're at the highest that we can be in this pageant system. And so one thing that you just said when you added that, I was like, yes, because when it's done, I've been doing this 3 years. When it's done, who is Dominique or who, I'm not gonna be Dr. World 2026. She's not gonna be Miss Achievement World 2026
Right.
done for us. And so I love that you said that. And that is one of the reasons why I did go to Dr. World because I did compete in something else that was similar to a pageant. And I was like, oh, I'm out here. I have my voice. I have this platform. I'm doing all this. And when it was done, I was like, I feel so empty because I don't have a crown anymore. What do I do? And you said that, and it hit me because I'm like, oh God, October will be here. I'm getting teary-eyed because this has been such a big part of me the last 3 years. And it's like, once I take this off, wow,
Mm.
what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? So,
We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat about it. No misty. There's so much. I love the part after the pageant, and I will say I know the feeling. And I'm if it's landing for like the girls here or for either of you, it's because I've lived it and I know and I've seen my clients go through it. And that's not the end of the story. Like it gets to happen a different way. And this is where I see again most of the coaching industry focus on your interview, your runway, your platform. But what about after?
yeah.
And
Enter me.
see, I'm focusing in because I'm currently in my doctoral program. So I'm thinking about, okay, what do I do now to equip myself to fill the shoes of the Dr. World pageant when I'm ready to go into that side of the system? Because they are they're such amazing queens. And I know that each of us have our own identity, but it's setting that it's trying to mentally set that goal for, okay, what does my next crown look like when I'm ready for it? um, when you're eyeballing a pageant system or you're in the pageant system, I'm looking to cross over into another division of that system. Like, okay, now I know you start to set the goal now and make that vision plain now instead of waiting till, oh, I have the crown. So now what I do and having to go through the identity finding process all over again, because that's something that I'm afraid of because my queens on the doctor side are everything. They rule the world in my mind. And I look to them because they're doing so many amazing things. And I have to sit back and reflect on my own reign. I'm like, okay, I can be amazing too. And I am amazing too. And not and making sure that my goal is aligned to by the purpose of the system as well as my own internal, like everything has complete alignment. So I can start making those posts and being more consistent and really telling that story.
I can't wait.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I know the answer to this, but I would like to hear what you are going to say. Do you plan your content in advance or do you post in real time? And what do you think?
I will say, I think it's a mix. I can do both. And I actually encourage every woman to do both because I work with women in pageants and women who are building their own brands. And sometimes I'll have the ones who will say, like, I'm too busy to post today. And then some will say, I need to batch my whole content. And then if I don't, I feel like I'm behind. And I'm like, no, at any point in time, you can show up and share. Why? Because I know for most of the women here, if you're not posting online in real time, you're scrolling on your social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? It takes just as long to make a post as it does to scroll and look at what other people are doing. For me, because I have my business, I will say that part of my content is based on where I'm going. So, for example, next week we have a training. It's called Big Queen Money for pageant women building their brands and businesses, and a lot of my content is geared towards that. So that helps me. Come in May, we have an incredible interview program that's going to be live. I haven't run it in years. Every single one of the women here should be signed up for it. You're going to see a shift in my content to now focus on interview. So part of it is thinking and future casting, like where I'm going. But some weeks when I have a busy week, I have more calls or I have appointments or just life happens and I can't plan my content for the week, it's in real time. But for me, again, 2,800 posts, and that's just on Instagram. That's not even on my TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I know who's on the other side, and I know the experience that you're having from this conversation alone. 10 more pieces of content have come out of my head. And it's because I'm so clear on my mission, on what I'm here to do. And I'm so lit up by it. Like nothing can stop me from sharing and having this love of what I do online. So if it is in the moment, I could hop off right now and whip up a post in a couple of minutes. It doesn't have to take so long. Like in the beginning, obviously, you kind of have to learn like the skills if you're doing Canva or Reels or B-roll or something like that. But I would rather be expressed in what I want to share versus, oh, I can't post because I don't have the full plan and it doesn't look perfect yet. Now, you can scroll back to like post 1,000 or like 700 or something like that. It does not look like the way it did now. It looked like I was in nursing scrubs. I was on break. I was just coming home from the gym. My hair was a mess. I can't believe some of the stuff I used to post back in the day. But I was so like in love with the idea of like being in pageantry and doing pageantry full time that it didn't matter how it looked. I showed up and made the post anyways. So to answer your question, I do both. I do both.
That's what I thought because just, following, I'm like, yeah. That
Mhm.
and and that is one of the things too for me. I think a lot of women in our system struggle with the videos because I can do pictures. And I'm pretty good at CapCut and all of that quickly, but an actual video where I'm talking to you and da da da, I need to have my script, my hair and makeup needs to be done, like if it's a picture, I can go click 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 really fast, but I can't come on camera looking busted. So then that takes time. So like how you're talking about scrolling on your phone, but yeah, that means I have to at least put something on or I have to put some lashes on, and I'm not presentable for social media. So I think I would probably be one of those people who have to, do all my content in 1 or 2 days, and then that can be overwhelming. So that's why I usually don't post videos. What do you think, Bree? Are you
See, I actually have some new content coming out next week that actually kind of plays on that because I'm a track coach and I've spent a lot of my time out in the field, not looking cute and all made up, which is great because that's part of my platform because I use that opportunity for empowering youth because I have a girls track team and they're a little rough around the edges. So it's been a great mentoring opportunity. So I want to highlight that part of a thing to show just me kind of just being in an environment. I think if it was just me by myself, I'm kind of like you, Dominique, where, okay, I need to make sure that my locks have twisted the no flyaways, makeup, and all of the things. But I'm experimenting with something different just to put that authentic me, because that's the real me that's out there. So that's the me that I want to present out there because I'm not always made up. and being a part of my platform, I'm in the trenches a lot, talking to students, talking to the different people and the different things in the trenches, to where I'm getting back into the habit of posting as I go, because in real time the work is actually happening. So I think that it's a two-edged sword depending on what you want out of it, if that makes any sense.
I do think, and I feel like this is probably one of the questions that's coming up. I feel like I remember it, but I do think there is a certain extent in pageantry. I 100% understand that there is a certain element where polish is important. Of course, of course, of course. And also, I think that social media and pageants are such a self-love game. Like, you have to really love and accept yourself to be like, oh, I have a breakout. Oh, I don't look great. Oh, and this to post online, because what are we really afraid of? We're afraid of people judging us and
Mm-hmm.
making fun of us. But it's like if you love yourself enough, if you love like your flyaways or like the breakout you have or what you're wearing enough that like nobody can touch you. Nobody can say anything about you because you love you and you have something that you're lit up about and you want to share and you want it to reach the right people. Like you become unshakable. You become unstoppable. And that's where it's easy for people to look at maybe where I'm at right now and be like, oh, well, she can do it because she has the time. I'm like, well, what about when I used to work 12-hour shifts on
Mm-hmm.
midnights and I didn't have the time and I was working several jobs? I still showed up. And guess what? Nobody didn't not hire me because they're like, oh, look, she's got like scrubs and workout gear. No, like that's what my brand and my empire was built on was that hard work and discipline. And y'all, this is just a 5 minute face. Don't let this think that this glam is like taking a long time. This is like 5 minutes. Concealer, a little bit of bronzer, lashes, lips. We're good to go. And then yes, that's where I love to do the like record a bunch in one day so that I don't have to wear makeup the rest of the week. I'm also a fan of that too.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes. I was like,
That's,
got it at 4:30, getting the kids together. I was like, look, I gotta do something. But
and my mad dash from, because I was literally in the locker room field house making sure that my track girls were good. And I'm like, I gotta go, gotta, and I had my sasha like, ooh, she bought the queen, y'all. She bought the queen. And just changing clothes real quick, crown on, and making sure that. But it's the transparency piece because I'm both. So it's
Mhm.
important for the people that follow me to actually see both, because I actually have not introduced both sides. They've only seen the crown and put together, or let's make an appearance side. They haven't seen the other side of that. So I have to be brave enough to be able to share that too, in order to align with my purpose, to the point that we've been making um, here, in our gathering together. Wow, there are so many different nuggets here, but one of the main questions, because we have a lot of queens that are coming in and they're fairly new to our system, they're new to pageantry. So, how often do you feel like they need to post during their first few months of their reign? Because that's something that gets a little tricky, at times too, because you don't want to post too much or not enough. It's just one of those gray areas that it's either we do it or we don't, and we kind of get lost in the sauce. So what are your thoughts on that, Maria?
That's great. That's a great question. So I don't know which Maria wants to come through and say this, but um nobody's going to punish you for not sharing every single day. Like I don't want this to be like a oh, I have to post every single day otherwise I'm not going to win. Like if that's your approach, don't do it. Like don't start right off the bat. But I think a good consistent like anything that you can be consistent with and you can do it well like with some level of quality, that's the goal that you want to aim for. If I had like if you were like Maria, give us a number for them. I say minimum 2 to 3 times per week. 2 to 3 times where you can be consistent and like thoughtful and intentional enough. And then it also covers three content pillars that I teach in one of my programs. It's a course on my website called Crown Content because you have three different types of content: your personal, your pageant, and your platform related content. And that covers those three areas where you feel like you are sharing the different facets of yourself versus if you're only posting once a week and it's always about the pageant and then people are like okay she's doing a pageant right now. So I think 3 days per week if you're doing something like quality, and again I get it, some of y'all are moms, you're getting your doctorate, you have your career, like it's busy. But that would be like my minimum recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
I love that. And it's feasible. And I never you're making me think about things, right? And when you just said the three things, I was like, oh, I do that. Um, I think, okay, but see, my public one, I don't really post my girls on my like pageant page or whatever, but like my Facebook, I have, okay, I do my family pictures and post, and then I have my pageant stuff, and then I have my actual job. So I can do that to translate to, you know, my actual public page too, just not so much the personal. I don't know. My girls are out there already, so I don't know what but I just thinking about the three different pillars.
And
And
see, I sit back and I think about like my own, because I post a lot of my family stuff. Like last night, I was at a thing and I've been kind of debating on, okay, do I want to share this pageant wide? Because it actually what I'm celebrating actually ties into Carrie's platform in military women, because one of my daughters actually won the Daughters of the Revolution scholarship last night. So thinking through like, oh, I can actually tie this in and actually make this a platform pageantry thing, and trying to figure out, okay, what parts of my life do I want to share to capitalize on that rotation, because I don't share enough on my platform, but it's like, what do I keep to myself, and trying to find that balance. It's kind of hard at times.
I will say, I feel like the more that I got into the business side of pageantry, I don't share a ton on my personal page as much
Mm,
anymore, especially like when it comes to my family. I more like to share about the different things that I'm passionate about, right? Like if I like to work out or if I'm going to an event. But I think when it comes to your family, just because there are other people involved, that you always want to be mindful of like how much do they want to
mm,
be shown? Like what's their say in it, and I like to focus it again more on like in pageantry, you're a queen, you get to like you do get to curate this and make this about you to a certain extent when it comes to your social media. So I think it's a personal call, and it might be different at different phases of your life. Like maybe there's a point where you really want to lean into that family side, and then maybe there are times where you're like, okay, now it's, for example, summer's coming up, there's a ton of summer events, and you just know, okay, like in this season I'm posting a lot of my community like pageant platform content. Mhm.
so Maria, like I feel like I could sit here and talk to you for hours because you are really giving us all the stuff, and I'm sure Bree feels the exact same way.
Mhm.
That we are going to go back and replay this, but I do think we should probably come to a close on this just to make sure
Mhm.
that everybody watches it and gets the information that we intend. So I do have one last question for you. This is really important to me because I am breaking generational curses. I am building a legacy for my daughters. And so this one really is important, and it's a bonus question. And it is, what does legacy look like for you in the digital space?
I love it. And first, I just want to say that when me and Dominique got on this call, she was like, we're going to keep it to like 30 minutes. I was like, I don't think I have the ability to do that, but sure. So I'm glad that we got the extra time here. But for me, I think legacy, whether it's in the digital space or in person, right? Because we all still have a life. And one thing I want every single woman listening to this, watching this, director, title holder, or delegate, is really thinking about the end of your days. And I don't mean that in a grim way. I used to be a hospice nurse, so talking about end of life is very comfortable for me. But when you think about the end of your days and you look back on your life and you truly can tell yourself, like, I lived like there was no limit. Like, nothing stopped me, nothing about where I came from, nothing about how I grew up, nothing about the challenges, nothing about the setbacks I faced. If I truly knew that I could do anything, what would life actually look like? What would I actually be doing and willing to do? Because pageantry invites us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is my why and what is my impact? And your legacy are really those two things magnified for, an 80, 90, 100-year life if we're lucky to live that long. And that is the greatest thing that you can do, because for me, like I remember before pageants how I was the nursing student who went to school, who gained a bunch of extra weight because that's just what you do in university, who's kind of with like average relationships and people that didn't really like light me up. I didn't feel lit up by life. I didn't feel lit up by like, oh, I could actually do something and make something for myself. I just have to go get my career and then that's it. But when I joined pageants and I knew that I was meant for more, and I think every woman here can agree with that, I didn't let the more stop at the title. And I didn't let the more stop at one stage or one social media post. And that's really the why that I have and the why that I strive to give to everyone, whether it's a client or someone who follows me online. And to kind of pull it full circle, when women come to my world, I hope that they don't think these are the wins behind me. I really do hope that they look at what I do and they see that I'm truly happy. Like I love what I do. And I will say, just to touch on it, like I just went through one of the hardest years of my life and I'm still here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we could literally go on for hours. I could talk about this for days because even after the hardest season of my life, I still love it. And I'm still like, okay, that was one setback. Where are we going next? How are we going to move ourselves forward? What happens around me doesn't define me. I get to define the rest of my life. And that's what I want for every woman here, whether it's online, on stages, with the crown or without the crown.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're
This
welcome.
has been amazing. We really appreciate you. I know that Diana, our director of Dr. World Productions, is super excited that you joined us today. Thank you, Maria, for all of this information. We really appreciate everything.
You're so welcome.